Alright guys, today we're going to be going over the Anser Smart Printer. Basically all the same menu trees are going to be exactly the same across all formats of the new iterations of the printer, the Smart 1-inch and the Pro S as well. First thing you're going to want to do is plug it in. You got your slot for your thumb drive here. You can create your messages, of course, in Message Pro, up to 999 of them, and transfer them to the printer. Please keep in mind, if you've already created messages on the printer itself, when you put in that thumb drive with those messages, it will wipe it unless you've already backed up the messages from the printer itself. Alright, so this is the home screen you're going to come to. We actually do have some messages in here. What you're going to see on this first screen is the default message that's the test print that's going to have some data, some alphanumeric stuff, as well as a barcode. I'm just going to walk you through the menus real quick. We'll get back to the editor after we go through the menus. So I'm going to do exit 3 times, get back to the home, and we'll go to editor settings. Here's where you'll find global shift. Drill into there, and that's how you set up your shift counts that'll roll over at specific times, and you can name and label those shifts. We'll back out of there. String table, same thing. You set your values for your strings and it will do all the math and everything for you from there. Zero display and the custom year, 24 are the rollover hours and things of that nature. That's all stuff that our technical support group can kind of help the end user get set up. It's also in the manual as well. Here are the system settings. First tab here is the general tab. From here you set up your languages. As you can see, it's got quite a few presets in it. Go back to English. Your unit of measurement, millimeters or inches. We'll leave it at millimeters, and then your password protect. To set that up, you have your user account, your password. You can have up to 5 of them with different levels of accessibility to the code that you're doing. We'll make sure that stays off. If you scroll down, let me back up. So out of that general tab, that first page, if you scroll down past the password protection, I'm just scrolling down here, you'll get to your font type, right or left. There's just the 2 preloaded fonts currently, Gothic and Arial. Gothic, of course, will give you about 33% or so of ink savings and cartridge life. We're going to leave it at Arial, and then a global delay. You can set that up and then set the value and everything. Daylight savings time, system time, log report, all that stuff is in that first general tab. If you scroll to the right, you're looking at your printhead. This gives you your print mode, standard or HD. Standard, of course, is one of the nozzles, one of the channels, not both. It's going to give you 300 DPI, not the 600. And then you can select which nozzle you want to run, left or right, just by scrolling down. Left, right. Here's where you'll also be selecting your print direction, left to right, right to left, inverted, all that stuff. And as you go on it, you just click right or left and it'll take you through the options. You can also select your DPI, dots per inch. Another scroll down will take you to the next page of that menu tree. Print scale, that's going to come into play for things like QR codes, 2D barcodes, things of that nature. And you'll also have your pre-purge here. Typically speaking, you want to have your pre-purge on a production floor set to at least a value of 3 to extend the life of your cartridges. Other than that, you've got up to 5, but you want to have it set, typically speaking, at a 3. And then here's your repeat print. You turn that on, scroll down, and from there you mess with your repeat print settings. So your trigger, what's triggering it? Is it an infinite print or whatnot? And then here you would set up your delays and how far apart you want those prints, depending on line speeds and things of that nature. And then select OK from there once you set those values. I'm going to escape back out of there. And I am going to turn repeat print off again for the purposes of this video. So that's really all you're going to see. And this menu will actually scroll down, and you also have the clean nozzle. You can press start there, and then that's just going to give you both lanes of the printhead triggering all nozzles, so you can clear any debris that's in the printhead or anything without the use of a recovery syringe. It's not really the best bet for a good thorough head cleaning. So I'm going to back up again by pressing the escape button and go to the next item on that menu, which is devices. And here's where, by pressing enter, it'll get you in there, and you select your photocell, whether it's internal or external. External, of course, it's going to ask you a couple of questions: inverted, normal. That's about it. We're going to set it back to internal for the purposes of the video. And then here is where you'll have your encoder. Whether or not you're plugged into an encoder, you need to tell the printer it's not going to make the necessary changes to recognize an encoder unless you tell it. So you turn it on from there. And when it's turned off, you do want to get a good gauge of what your conveyor speeds are, and you can mess with these values and tweak it to dial in your print quality. That's basically all that is on this menu tree, so we're going to escape after we make sure everything's set for trial purposes. So when you're out in the field just doing test prints for somebody on a product, you're going to want to make sure that the photocell is set to internal. The photocell mode obviously is at normal, and then the encoder is in fact turned off. So we'll escape out of this menu, and escaping out of that menu is going to save all your changes. You want to go to display. Display is just real simple. It's what it says. You can turn on the screensaver, so it'll time out after whatever amount of time that you give it, and then the brightness of the screensaver. For the purposes of the video, we've set the screensaver off at this point, but we won't go too much more into this screen. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I pressed escape and then scrolled over on the menu to sounds. Pretty self-explanatory here as well. Whether or not you want your counter to beep every time it's printing, your ketone, anytime you're pressing the buttons on your remote control, it'll beep, and then the printing beep, same thing. Information, and this is going to tell you, so once again I escaped and then just scrolled over right on the menu. It gives you your serial number, software version, and hardware version. And out of that menu, if you have a cartridge in it and a message selected, you'll be able to see how many prints you're going to get. I'll back up and create a message and walk you through that, so you can. There's a couple of ways you can get to the ink report to find out how many prints you can get out of each cartridge. So at this point, we're going to back out and put a cartridge in. And it's going back to, I think it's message 7 in here, but we'll escape and scroll over to the editor. As you can see, this is the message I was describing in the beginning of the video, the default message that's got your serial number and some different, it's the test print, and then a few other messages that our technical support groups created. As you can see, you can do the 2D barcode with alphanumeric after it. You can load logos into it. As you can see, the Tyson Food logos in there, and some different messages. So to create a new message, you're just going to scroll to the left from this message editor screen, select new message, And you've got text, time, expiration dates, counters, shifts, logos, barcodes, and strings. We'll go ahead and just do a text message. So from here you've got lines free mode, which of course means you've got flexibility to change the size of each line of the message within the editor. You can do a full half-inch barcode with 4 lines of smaller text immediately following it. You've got freedom. If you scroll to the right, this is going to establish a template for you. It's going to give you a line mode, and then from there you would just select what you want, 1, 2, 3, or 4 lines of print. Of course, this is the half-inch smart printer, so you're limited to the 4 lines of text. We're going to scroll back up. We're going to do free mode, select next, and from here you would just use your keyboard. So you're going to actually want to press backspace a couple of times to get rid of the text line, and then we'll just put A. Let me go back and select so it's set to numeric, so I'm backspacing is deleting. Catching that, Mark. Okay. And you'll press the ABC button, and that'll change it to, what's going on here? As you can see, it just wasn't registering the click of my button down here in the right corner. You've got it to the alphabet, so we'll select 2 for A. Press that same 2 button twice to get B, and 3 times to get C. And from here you can change the size of that, so whether it's 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 6 millimeters, or 8 millimeters. Different font sizes from here. Angle, well, that's too big of a message, but you would be able to, if I would have selected one of the smaller fonts, you would be able to have it run top to bottom instead of left to right. You can also flip the message, so you've got some flexibility to do kind of whatever you want with the code. We'll select next, and then from here it'll give you these red cursor arrows, and you can place it wherever you'd like within the message. We'll just kind of center it a little bit better and escape, and oh, I don't know why I just lost that. That's funny. Interesting. So we would have wanted to go to next. I pressed escape and lost the message I created, but we'll do it once again. Press the ABC to get back to the letters. See that in the right hand corner. A, B, C. Scroll down to next. Enter, and the message is saved. So what I did, the mistake I made, was I pressed escape instead of pressing enter. Enter saves the message. To add a new aspect to the code, you just want to go back in, and I did that pretty quickly. So you go back to add, press enter on add. We'll add a barcode, and you've got your presets here: code 128, SECC 14, SEC 18. As you can see, a bunch of different barcodes. Let's leave a QR code in there. We'll put some numbers in there. As you can see, it populates the code. Scroll down, display text. You can say show or hide. Select hide for the purposes of the video. You can set the height of the QR code and then the width as well. Press next, and you can manipulate it within the message to place it wherever you'd like, as you can see here, just by using the directional arrows. And then of course OK to finish. Pretty self-explanatory. You guys can kind of mess with them and learn. Here you can go back to edit, and then you can edit the specifics of the text or the barcode itself if needs be. We'll escape there. Here you would go to move. Press OK, and then same thing, it gives you the freedom to move the code again. Press OK, save those changes. And from here, you're not going to want to press delete. Obviously, we're going to want to print this message, so we're going to escape. It will take you back to the editor. From here, you will turn print on. With the print on button in the top left hand corner, you're going to get a product counter, print preview. You're going to want to make sure your print light is a consistent green, and note where your photo cell is on the printer itself. Run that across the product, and you've got a good print. And that should be all you need to know to get up and out of the box and getting some prints out of the printer. Now, of course, if you have any questions on how to set up strings and some of the higher functions of the machine, you can just reach out to our technical support group. And once you are in the print preview screen, you can actually run a real-time ink report by pressing Tool, and then scrolling over one click to the ink icon, and that will tell you total this message, current message number 6, with a 42 milliliter cartridge could print 128,587 times, and it'll tell you what's left in the cartridge, which is 41 milliliters, and that could print 128,411 times. So that's how to do a real-time ink report as well. Alright, thanks a lot.